following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
The Nostalgia Funhouse proudly dedicates all episodes in the loving memory of Connie Chirac. So, Johnny, I've been hearing really great things about this Nostalgia Funhouse. It just brings back so many great memories.
Andrew, the only reason I'm moving in line with you here is that you really vouched for this show. So I'm just going to believe you that this is the show that, I've been wanting, which is just talking about all the fun stuff from our yesteryear and the years before. And I really hate anything meta. So I'm glad that what we're doing right now is not that.
Oh, no, definitely. What is meta? Isn't that Ron Artest's new name?
Well, add World and Peace to it, sure.
Yeah, but this is great. They last year they were tearing play sets and Halloween costumes.
Well, that sounds cool.
They get these weird court recordings from pop culture courts.
Does anybody care about court cases?
These ones are kind of cool. They put Scott Kelvin on trial. Poor old Santa Claus there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, man. You know what's the best part about this is though? Is I hear they always got a really great sponsor. You can check it out right there.
Tonight on the Disney Sunday Movie, the Davises are moving into a new house.
Definite fixer-upper.
Where the tenants are deceased, but not departed.
This house is not haunted.
Keep an eye out for the Boogedy Man.
What Boogedy Man?
Boogedy, boogedy.
Now it's every man, woman, and child for himself.
I saw him! What a weirdo. Dad's gonna negotiate with Mr. Hamburger Face.
It's spirited family fun. Mr. Boogedy.
Good move.
Hello, and welcome to the Nostalgia Haunted House with your host, Johnny Townsend, and the bride of podcasting, perhaps, Andrew Lentz.
I'm a bride?
I guess I know what Dracula's doing there. Today we're covering what are we covering today, Andrew?
Oh, we are covering a child. I'm embarrassed to say this. We're covering Mr. Boogedy because
And what was the sequel called?
The Bride
of Mr. Boogedy. So that's what he was doing. Yeah.
But so I watched this for Halloween for years that I can remember, and it scared the crap out of me. And this is a Disney Sunday night movie, gather.
Yeah, well, I'll get into some of the background of this movie because I was very fascinated by it. But yeah, this was one of those when Disney would do those movies of the week type things, and this is one of those.
You gather around the TV with the family to end out the week. You got all done watching your Saturday morning cartoons, and then Disney closes out your week right there with this. But this is Mr. Boogedy, and little personal history is this movie scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And
my personal history is this is what I'd always heard about.
Okay,
but before streaming, there was no way to watch it again, really. So I never saw it until yesterday for this,
and I don't think I wanted to watch again because it was a little creepy. Because I put this up there with the Boogeyman episode of The Real Ghostbusters. That to this day, I still get creeped out when I watch.
I can see that, but I'm coming to it seeing it as an adult, right?
Yeah,
I didn't see it as a kid, so it's very different for me. My experience, as seeing it now, I don't want to give away my score for it or anything, but I think it's a good time.
This was one of the ones where I was like, we got to insert this in here. It's not, we're reviewing it, but we're not doing a movie review this month because we got other stuff.
Right. But I'm still going to give us a score at the end of the day.
We're still good. We're reviewing something. We're giving it a score.
Yeah. So the history of this, the background and history of this movie is really fascinating. Originally, it was going to have Cheech and Chong for one, which is mind blowing.
That is interesting.
And another thing was it was originally going to be a full-fledged movie at first. It was going to be like a spoof on horror films.
So
but then they were like, I don't know about that. Disney kind of comes along. They say soften up the horror aspect of it a little bit, and they're like, oh, you know what? This was originally it would turn into what you watched was originally going to be a pilot for a TV series
of him just haunting.
It was just going to be a TV series of that family in that haunted house in that town. Was what it was going to be.
So that's why they pretty much because it's when
it sort of just throws you into it, really.
Yeah, and it's short.
Yes, 45 minutes around in there.
Yeah, it's short. And what else? What else was I gonna say? Crap. It's short and it has some names in it, but nothing too big.
No, I would say
not like
the kids go on to do some pretty great stuff in the world
kids
of sitcoms.
Because you got
movies.
You got Bud Bundy, David I can't even
You got the kid from Alf.
Yeah, kid from Alf. And then the father has like played in everything known to man. I think he's
who's the oldest daughter? We're leaving her out. That was a big name.
Was it really?
Yes.
Jennifer. Oh my goodness, that's Christy Swanson.
Yes.
I didn't even realize that. Like I would this is how dumbly blind nerdy I am. I was more blinded by the little kid that went on to become Brian Tanner and Bud Bundy than I who was realizing that was Christy Swanson.
Yep. That's Christy Evans Swanson right there.
And John Aston.
Yeah.
That's also, but this guy, Richard Masur, I'm hoping I'm saying is that, yeah, he was the dad in License to Drive. He played like,
he's been in a lot of stuff. I've definitely seen him before.
Yeah, I think he's been in like almost like every 80s movie in the world. Like,
yeah, you definitely recognize him. If you see him, you definitely recognize that guy. And you can also kind of
Mosquito Man.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Now, the one thing you kind of see its roots of being a spoof in the joke near the beginning with the sign, the realtor sign.
Yes,
where it says definitely not haunted or something like that.
And then
it falls. Yeah, like that's a bit of the spoof still in it, but that's not really prominent in the thing. Really, it is the gist of it is this family moves to this town, but you only ever see the house.
I love the names because this is stuff that I don't think you would see today.
Lucifer Falls, what the name of the town
Lucifer Falls, New England.
Yes,
because he owns he's an owner, not the owner of the franchise, but he's a franchisee of Gag City stores. You know, Gag City, everybody go get your gags. The official sponsor of the Nostalgia Funhouse, Gag City.
Yeah, Gag City. Yeah. Because as a big thing is gag stores. They definitely survived and didn't become a Spencer's in the mall.
Or you could the back wall at Five Below.
Yes. Yeah. My first note is this is a terrible dad.
Why? I don't think why? Because he plays jokes?
No. Because he gets to this house. It is, and he calls it and I'm quoting here, fixer upper. This house should be condemned.
Yes.
And it's very obvious that his family does not want to sleep there that night. And he's like, we're sleeping here. Don't worry about it. Like, just go get a hotel for the night and come back during the day, for crying out loud. They get there at night, of course.
Yeah. But, and why was the guy in the house? Like John.
Thank you.
Neil Witherspoon, John Ashton's character.
Yeah.
He was in that house. Like, I believe, I understand movie wise, like that's to add the suspense.
Yes.
But he was just like chilling in their house. Like,
yeah. Just standing there in the living room.
Yeah. Like
he wasn't even doing anything. He's just standing there waiting on them to show up.
He's not a realtor. He works for the Chamber of Commerce for
something
Lucifer
like
Falls?
that. Yeah.
Why would you move to a place called Lucifer Falls? Like, what makes you even be like, yeah, that looks like a good.
Yeah, I'd rather move to a place called Angels Stand Up.
And how broke are they that they're like a family of 5? and they're like, this is our first real house. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the father, like a backstory. Here we go with backstories. Like kind of a made up backstory is maybe he's not very good with money, and he invested into this Gag City place, and
He
maybe they
seems
weren't
like
doing too well because he mentions that it's one of the only spots without a Gag City store for
right
money.
within miles. Yes. I think he seems like one of those guys who has big ideas,
And then
and the family sort of suffers because of it.
kind of like if you watch some other movies or TV shows, the quote unquote inventor dad.
Yes, yes. Sort
Okay.
of like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids type of dad in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's really invested in his projects, and sometimes
Now I will say, in fairness to him, uh, most of the family except for the older daughter are all for it. It seems too.
Yes.
They love these gags. They're constantly playing gags on each other all the time. That's why one of my notes is
But isn't
this is
kind
the
of
family
like
from this is the family from hell was one of my notes.
isn't that kind of like a I was thinking the same thing. Like that stuff would last with me for about maybe a couple hours, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's a good one." And the
Yeah,
next thing
but
you
it
know,
doesn't stop, Andrew. It is constant.
yeah, I would be like, "No." But isn't that kind of like the teenage daughter trope, though? She's got to move away from her friends and go
She was the most
but
relatable one to this for me
and the
because she
one
was
with the
like,
most common sense.
exactly. Not only that, she was like, yeah, this stuff is fine. It's funny at times, but for the love of God, take a break.
Yeah. Like with the whole egg thing where it was like rubber eggs and then
Yeah.
the egg was squirting on the kid and he was like, good one, Dad. I'm sorry. We're eating breakfast. If you're gonna serve me rubber eggs, we're
Yeah.
having a problem because I need something to eat before we need to start doing this stuff.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's one of those don't come at me without my coffee type of deals, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't mess with my food. Come on, man.
But it's obvious from the get go there's something's wrong with that house, of course.
Yep.
It starts right away. Here's a trope I will always say in any of these scary type of movies. If a door's glowing, don't freaking open it.
Yeah, call the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Get a free balloon for the kids.
Yeah, exactly. You get a professional in there. You get Egon to take care of that for you. You don't open it yourself.
Yeah, the mentor of the group.
God, don't get me started on that. What a wild comment. But people, you know what? Fascinating, I would say.
But yeah, they're in the house. What the
All right, the two brothers, the two little brothers.
they're in it. That's not right. Like there's no fighting among these kids at all. That's how
Exactly. They get along fairly well, which makes no sense. First of all.
I like it how all of a sudden was it I'm just gonna refer to him as Brian. Oh, they call him Ari, and I thought
Yeah.
they could call him Ari. But once again, I'm getting older. Because his real name is, according to Wikipedia, Reginald Ernest Davis in the show.
They say his full name.
Okay,
The dad says his full name at one point. Yeah.
But the teddy bear goes missing that he has. His fuzzy teddy bear.
Yes. Yes. That will come back. One of my notes though has to do with those two brothers, and my note is, and I'm quoting my note verbatim here. If you told me that one of those kids grows up to be the Joker, I'd believe you.
Maybe could be a Joker origin story.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was watching this thinking. This is a Joker origin story. And oddly enough, there is a connection, Andrew. This is another one of the background things. One of the people who auditioned for this but was turned down ended up being a certain Mr. Phoenix, who later became the Joker.
Oh my goodness. He probably played David Fasciano's part, right?
He was going to be one of the brothers, I think.
Good old Joaquin.
Yeah. Great, fantastic actor.
Yes. There's a guy that kind of normally you fall behind your brother, but he's actually lived.
I don't mean this in any crass way, but his brother did pass away.
Yeah, well, I'm saying
when he was at the height of it. Yeah,
yeah, his brother was very good for a young actor.
Oh yes, yeah, very much so.
But yes, this is very interesting. And you know what? The other thing I kind of noticed is nobody goes to school. Is this summertime, but yet they're wearing jackets?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they don't really say when this is. That's a good point.
Like they don't say
'Cause
it's Halloween time.
This whole thing pretty much takes place at their. Now they do go to the town once to talk to that guy, right?
Yeah, they go to the town because that's where they find the history of Mr. Boogedy and why
Yeah.
this is haunted.
Yeah. One of my other notes is that guy when he doesn't have his hat on, he looks a lot like my Uncle Lark. He really does. I gotta find a picture of Uncle Lark and send it to you. Let you know. Look, this guy looks
That's
just like
pretty awesome that your uncle looks like John Aston.
He does. I'm not even kidding.
Can we get a pinstripe suit on him and dress him up as Gomez Adam?
I have to see if he'll do it.
Maybe you
I
guys
want to
could
guess
go.
no.
You guys could go for dual costumes. You could be Harry from Night Court, and he could be I forgot what the character is, the father, the
I'll be
institution father.
I'll be more of a just going by my body type of Pugsley.
Halloween, you can dress up whatever you want to be.
That's right. Yes,
But
just for the character you want, not the character you are. That's what I've always heard.
because they do hear sneezing too, which will play a part. Let's not forget about that. The sneeze.
Yes, I think honestly, I think the story over all this is especially considering that this is a Disney kids horror short movie. The story wise, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, the gist of it is Mr. Boogedy, like you get his whole background.
I'm gonna let you tell the story, and then I gotta make a comment about when they're telling the story.
So Mr. Boogedy is like he gets this cloak, right? Because he makes a deal with the devil to get this cloak, and it's to impress this lady that he really likes. And that's kind of the genesis of
I'm gonna swear on this.
Go ahead, yeah.
The guy that's Mr. Boogedy is what's his real name is William Hanover. He is the town. Oh, okay, maybe I won't have to. He is the grumpy old man in town.
Yes, he's the guys whose house like all the parents tell the kids just don't go near that house.
He's keeping your football if you put it on if it lands.
Yeah, he's who the kids in Sandlot thought was in that house.
Yes,
but they ended up being an awesome dude. But in this case, this guy's not that awesome.
No,
he's
not awesome.
a cranky old curmudgeon, basically.
I was gonna say curmudgeon, but I also was gonna swear, but I kept it clean because that's what Apple Podcast says we are. We're clean.
That's right. Clean as a whistle over here on the Nostalgia Fun House.
Johnny gets all of his uncleanness out every Tuesday. So
that's right. Yeah. That's and then he haunts this house, and the house is there's all little notes here of the house it keeps getting destroyed or something like that on that spot.
Like his house burns down, and the little because he wants to marry a widow who has a kid.
Right. And the kid has a cold.
Get the sneezing. And then the house burns down, but they didn't mention did the kid burn down with the house?
That's what I was confused about. Because the ghost is a kid. He's still a kid as a ghost.
Yeah.
And so to me, that would say that he died when he was a kid, right?
Yeah, because the special effects in this is really good up until they still tell the story of Mr. Boogedy, which I understand what they're trying to do, because for some reason there's a pop-up book about the story of how William Hanover became Mr. Boogedy. And when
I will say that my Uncle Lark is a great storyteller.
Oh, there you go. See?
Yeah.
Maybe we just get him pop-up books.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm saying that character's delivery is great. Like as he's telling the story is great. The visuals that they decide to use is a little off for me, like you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, because when they go into the visuals, it still actually looks like they're like in the pop-up book, but it's like live action.
Yeah, you can tell what they're going for, like you said, but yeah.
I have a feeling because of the way the special effects are, maybe they were like, we blew our budget, so let's just make this look like a high school, like a low budget high school play set.
Agreed 100%. Because there are some pretty, especially again, considering when this came out, which was 80, when this came out?
86.
86.
Came out in April 20th of 1986.
Yeah, perfect for Halloween. That's Disney, man. They don't know when to put out Halloween stuff. Hocus Pocus came out in the summer.
Like Halloween.
Disney puts out Halloween stuff in the summer, Andrew. I don't know if you knew this or not. Hocus
I
Pocus.
know I saw that because when I was doing like this today in pop culture history, I saw that and I was like, this doesn't make sense. So I kept on looking it up like every 5 seconds.
Yeah, because it is ridiculous.
I don't like
But basically, this kid I guess when he passed away, he had a cold,
so you just keep it.
so he just sneezes in the afterlife. His mom can't come into the house and she's a ghost, of course, but she can't get into the house because, of course, there's a Mr. Boogedy in there.
But I thought if you invited so that was the other part that got me. Being a little bit of a paranormal kind of weird research thing. I always thought if you invited a spirit into your house,
They usually can come into the house, yes.
okay. I know you're a little bit
Because the
more
mom
into it
sees
than
her
me.
out. Yeah, the mom sees her outside and does invite her in.
But she acts so normal about it. She's like, "Oh, you're the widow. Oh, why don't you just come on in?" And she's like, "I
Yeah,
come in." And she's like, "No, just she's just like talking to a ghost.
she's
Like
immediately
it's
on board
random."
with. She's immediately on board with what's happening.
Yeah, it's just so weird that she's doing that.
Yeah, to the point where I would say her backstory is she's dealt with that before.
Maybe she's a psychic or something. Because that's I don't know. It was just so weird that it wasn't like all the other kids were scared. Like even when the footprints were on the wall, even
Yeah,
that too. Okay, I
the
guess.
dad didn't believe it at first, so at least he
Oh,
has a little bit. He thinks they're playing because playing jokes on each other is a family thing that they always do. Obviously,
I think that's why they had to keep that running pretty hard.
yeah.
But it takes so long, I felt, to get to the actual Mr. Boogedy.
Yeah, I would say you don't even see him until like the last 5 minutes, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
because they find the missing teddy bear. The little boy stole the teddy bear from good old
That to me, that's the
Reginald.
best scene in the movie too. Is the two brothers talking to that little kid ghost?
Yeah, the Force Ghost. A lot of
Yeah, the Force
Ghosts.
Ghost. A lot of Force Ghosts
I
here.
put that in my notes. Oh, I think I sent that to you.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, a lot
Plenty
of
of Force Ghost.
plenty of Force Ghosts.
Yeah, so a young Jake Lloyd there, and
Stealing teddy bears. Went on to steal a lot more other things too.
yeah,
Definitely not the hearts of Star Wars fans. I can tell you that much.
no, he didn't deserve all that hate. I'm going to say that now. I'm sitting on
That's
that,
so
sitting on
horrible.
the hill. That's not his fault. But yeah, but that's probably my favorite scene in this is the three kids talking to each other and like, hey, you kind of felt it like that. You can tell. I mean, he's been a ghost for a long time. On top of that, he doesn't get to see his mom, and he's
Oh.
lonely. So, like, you can feel for that poor little Force ghost.
So you gotta because that's the other thing too, is probably the only other ghost in the house, right? Is Mr. Boogedy. And you
Yeah,
want to stay away from him. You don't want to be like, hey, Mr. Boogedy, you want to go like hang out
yes,
in the Dagobah system force realm and go mess with Luke.
yeah.
If you've seen this movie, you understand 100%. If you're a Star Wars fan, you've seen this movie. The first thing you think about whenever you see these ghosts, you're like, oh, it's a Force ghost.
Yeah.
And they probably do better special effects with their Force ghost than what they did in the sequels too. Uh,
Hot take.
but Mr. Boogedy appears. He finally appears. He's very
Yes,
disformed. So
very creepy looking, I would
yeah,
say.
so that's the other thing. If he burned with the house, is that the burn marks?
I would assume that's why he's disfigured is because he was
Or is it
burned like
because
that,
of like a curse because of the cloak?
or both. Maybe it's a
They never
combination.
specified like the powers of the cloak.
He like his he. I was going to ask you that because his powers are like he made the dad. He can kind of like force the dad to sort of uh stay in one spot, like he can't move. Sort of paralyzes him in a way,
Force
or
powers.
force powers. The older son, he turns
That
that
was the dumbest thing.
thing into a balloon, I guess.
And he wouldn't and he made sure
And
that
he couldn't let go of it, so he
yeah.
floated up into the ceiling.
Why would you turn like the fireplace, like little coal shovel thing into a balloon? And
I don't know.
how powerful is that one thing that he's turning into a balloon that it is lifting?
Andrew, don't be mad because you couldn't think of it. Okay.
Do you know what the part that really irked me? All right.
What's that?
So as they're fighting Mr. Boogedy, okay,
Yeah.
I'm watching this. Now, this is only probably the second time in about 2 years I've watched this. Before this, I watched it with the little kid that lives down the hall. Uh, and so I'm watching it, and Mr. Boogedy turns on the vacuum cleaner, the gag vacuum cleaner. All of a sudden, makes it into a regular vacuum cleaner. Because before
Yeah.
this was like a gag vacuum cleaner, like this, it was like a shop vac, and a clown popped out of it. So he turns this on, and see once again, I'm just gonna say Brian Tanner from Elf, the youngest kid, sucks in the cloak.
Yes.
And he cannot stop it. Like he's like, oh no, oh my goodness, you're gonna suck in my cloak.
Yeah, he has all these powers, but he can't
You
stop that.
turned it on. You did this. Turn it off. Like that is the very last note I have of you turned it on.
It's your own fault.
You turned it off.
You were winning. You were winning this.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about this all powerful magical cloak, you can't be like boogity boogity and all of a sudden it just turns off.
If you knew the one thing that gave you all your powers was on this cloak, wouldn't you make sure that that cloak was safe on you at all costs? And you would be like, oh, a vacuum cleaner could lead to my downfall. How about I not turn it on?
And is it because it's a magical vacuum cleaner was able to suck them up?
I don't know.
Because how are
anything that can suck me up is pretty magical.
Last time I checked anything to catch a ghost, you needed a proton pack.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be sucked at any point.
What is it? A non-licensed nuclear reactor or something? Egon explains it.
Yeah.
So, but that's
until Dickless comes in and turns it off. That's still one of my favorite lines in any movie. That is
true.
He has no dick. That's my favorite line still in anything.
The funniest thing was the one time I was trick-or-treating with the kid that lives down the street from the hall, and he was dressed up as like it was our very first Halloween in Texas, and he was dressed up as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And out of nowhere, so here, like everybody goes out into their driveway because it's still pretty nice.
Yeah.
And it's just guys, just having beers and stuff. This dude saw Jacoby and he recited the whole thing about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Oh,
he's like,
what Ray says?
The sailor. No, like what Vegman says, where he's like, he's the sailor looking for some fun in New York City. And at first I'm like, why is this guy talking to my child like this? And then all of a sudden it like clicked in my head.
Yeah. But
obviously
they take care of that, and that's sort of how the movie ends. The Mr. Boogedy doesn't have his powers anymore. The Force Ghost mom is allowed to come in and see her Force Ghost son, and they're able to move on, it looked like.
You're just gonna call him Force Ghost.
Yeah, it's a pretty happy ending, I would say.
Oh,
but Andrew,
yes,
I watched half of the sequel,
The Bride of Boogedy, which came out in April 12th of 1987. Because
that first one they were so happy with that first one and how honestly it was really well received.
This one's
that they're like, let's do a movie. It's an hour and a half, first of all, and like you said, the thing that surprised me is Eugene Levy's in it, and he's in it a lot, and he's the bad guy. He's not Mr. Boogedy, but he's like he owns the general store in the town, and he's very annoyed because he also sells novelty items in his general store.
Oh,
so there's a bit of a rivalry there.
Losing out on that sweet gag thing.
Yeah.
Wow, they recasted. We no longer have Christy Swanson.
Most of the kids, I think, are gone. It's different kids.
Except for David Fasciato. Well, because about 87, little Brian Taylor's off with Elf. And I don't know what Christy Swanson's doing, but she's
she's probably doing movies by then, right?
Yeah, she's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. How come she just
yeah.
But this was before, so what was she doing in 87? I've never heard of Flowers in the Attic.
Well, that's where I keep mine.
Oh, 91. She did Mannequin 2, On the Move.
That's what I'm talking about.
91 was a busy year for her. So she did Mannequin 2, On the Move, Hot Shots,
Oh,
and Highway to Hell.
she was in Hot Shots.
Yeah. I completely forgot about it too. So,
But I will also say about the Bride of Mr. Boogedy. 45 minutes is good.
yeah, I was gonna say for a lot of these, like I remember this being like really, really long.
Yeah, and it's not. It kind of comes in, doesn't overstay its welcome, which really helps it. If this had been like an hour and a half, it would have been way too much.
Yeah, it's
Which is proven by the sequel, I'm sad to say.
is that the one where he dances in front of the house, like he gets levitated up? Oh, you haven't seen all the way through.
I don't know.
I just
He
remember.
may have, because Mr. Boogedy, the last thing I saw, Mr. Boogedy had sort of I guess taken over the dad in a way, or made the so the dad's like being really even more weird than usual.
Uh I don't know how that's possible, but I would like to.
It's possible. It's
Oh,
definitely
gee.
possible.
I wish I could have seen your face when you looked up at me before you said it was possible. It was like, dude, you have no idea type face.
All I think I kept thinking about this whole movie though was
Why
like
was I scared
I'm
of it?
very lucky. I'm very lucky that my parents have a great sense of humor.
Mhm.
It really helped fuel mine and my grandparents too. But like, if it was just constantly this jokes and gags again and again and again, I couldn't possibly think of the hell I would think that I was living in. Like, it was, because it starts out funny when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Like, those kids are perfect age for that. But even then, it's got to become too much. Like, hey, I just want some effing peace and quiet for 5 minutes, please.
Yeah. It was I definitely don't I understand why I was scared of it as a kid, but I don't as an adult, I'm kind of like, dude, what were you actually?
Yeah.
This is
The one thing I
this
don't understand about the sequel is, when does it take place? Because they hadn't, because in the one I was in the sequel, you see them actually opening their shop. They get the building and all that stuff. The town already likes them, except for Eugene Levy. They're kind of like the town really kind of rallies behind them and likes
oh,
them already.
so according to Wikipedia, the this makes no sense after you telling me this. The movie begins about a year after the events of the first story.
So that's what I think they're trying to say. But does that mean in a year, like, he didn't have a job?
Oh,
Because they you see them open the store in this.
pretty sure you got to go through therapy from battling Mr. Boogedy.
I guess, yeah. And this one opens up with like their uncle. I don't know if it's his brother or her brother, but the uncle shows up, and he also works for that same gag company, of course. And he's there to say, hey, he's delivering them some more products, but he's also there to say, hey, the company wants to make you like the head of this big region or something like that. And he turns it down to stay in that house.
This is so weird. So I was looking to see who played this. Wait, how did they have the same last name, but she's okay. So he's so the name is Elmer Davis, but he's Eloise's brother. But why would so she never had to change her name?
I don't know. A Davis can marry a Davis, technically, I guess.
I guess so, but in parentheses next to this, it says share some unusual laugh.
That kind of explains the movie, really.
Yeah, it was Ray Giardi. You know, he played Ken Adams in Full House for one. Oh, that's the film Full House.
You remember when they did I think it was on Lifetime, did a behind the scenes movie of the show Full House. Do you remember that?
I think so. And I just was like, I'm not dealing with this.
We might want to go back and watch it just for funny sakes. But yeah, so that's this movie in a nutshell.
Yes.
Andrew, who would you be in this movie?
Jeez. I would want to be John Aston. I think he's the only
Agreed.
over the top like over the top, but
but in a good way.
fun character.
Yes,
Okay,
in a great. He'd be the most fun to play, I think.
like he is the most fun. Like the dad, you could be like, oh, I want to be the dad, but how many times are you going to play that gag where all of a sudden you'll be like, okay, next take, we cut, let's get that again.
It reminds me of like what it would be like to live with any of the guys from Jackass.
Yes, that whole family should have been that, other than the daughter.
Yes, I'm with you. I think that character is the best character to be. That's who I'd want to be as well.
Yes. What would you rate this out of Boogedy's?
Out of Boogedy Boos, it's very enjoyable. I liked it. It's a quick watch, which really helps it.
Yes, especially with kids.
You said you watched it with your kid. Did he like it?
Uh, yeah, but
I'm very curious.
He was a little bit older.
Yeah.
So this was like a year ago. I'm not even sure. He was 11. Carry the one. I have 3. Okay, damn it. I have 3. I'm trying to
podcast. I saw Andrew doing the math in his head, dude. No joke.
So yeah, we watched this, I think, last year. So he was like 11. So
yeah, that might be a bit too old for it.
I think it's just over the bridge. I would say if you're anywhere between, I
say 6 to 10-year-olds would love this.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a good gateway, goofy Halloween movie, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it, I feel like 3.5 Boogedies out of 5 Boogedies is pretty fair.
4 Boogedies. I got that extra half nostalgia.
Yeah, I get it. This is like if I'd seen this as a kid, I would probably feel the same.
I just remember it scaring the crap out of me. And I do think I do remember seeing The Bride of Boogedy too, and that scared the crap out of me as well. Mr. Boogedy was like something that people say to me, and I was like, it's not up there, but like a wrestling reference of like when you mentioned the fabulous Moolah to a female wrestler, sometimes it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
I didn't have the greatest time, but now that I'm older, I'm trying not to compare my situation to that, but
very, very different.
Yeah, it's very different. I'm just using an analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had fun watching it again, and then going back. I like to watch things that I was scared of as a kid, and
yeah, I would say if I'd seen this as a kid, this would be one that I would watch all the time every Halloween.
Yeah, like
I could definitely see it being that.
I wasn't flipped out until Mr. Boogedy came. Like Mr. Boogedy lived rent free in my head.
It's in the same vein of quote unquote scary as Hocus Pocus, those type of movies.
Yeah. Yeah, because like when you see what's his name, the corpse guy, he's a little creepy if you.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah.
Yeah, Billy. I can't remember his name. You're the Hocus Pocus guy.
I love Hocus Pocus.
As an adult now, I think it's very overrated.
As an adult,
as a kid, it was great. As a kid,
I still love it. I'm not gonna lie, but I have a lot of nostalgia behind it. That helps a lot. Yeah. But yeah, so I would still say this is a really fun movie. It's on Disney Plus. If you have that, check it out. No need, in my opinion. Again, have watched the whole thing, but The Bride of Mr. Boogedy is. I was tuning in and out of it. That's all I'll say.
Maybe it was just one of those sequels that we just didn't need. I think Mr. Boogedy worked fine. Now, my other question is, how could you have worked this into a TV show? Like,
I was thinking about that.
Boogedy not go away? And all of a sudden, like, I know there's
you could kind of turn it into. What if you turned it into? It's not just about that house; it's about that town, Lucifer Falls,
and that's all.
And there's all kinds of weird stuff that happens. They're sort of like an Erie, Indiana.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. You could do that.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, but then where would you still name it? Mr. Boogedy.
I mean, I don't know if they named it that before they were going to be a TV series. I would have named it Lucifer Falls. That's a great name for a TV show.
Great name. And then all of a sudden you got John Astin as like the guy that guides the kids into navigating these problems.
I would love that show. I
would love that show too.
You talked me into it. It's sort of like a Before Gravity Falls. Like it's one of my favorite animated series. Love that show. It could have kind of been that, but live action in a way.
Yeah, he could be a mentor like Egon.
Yeah. Yes.
But that is it. Thank you for listening. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube. Join us on Patreon if you want to support us and you enjoy what we do. And also check out our merch shop. And with that being said, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Boogedy, boogedy, boo.